Well, hello, everyone. I was running around doing something else about being here. Pete and Josh, super excited to have you here today. Thank you. To give a little bit of context, can you tell us briefly about your roles within your organization? Josh, we'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Lee. I'm the CTO and head of product at EDO. Thank you. I've been with EDO since we started back in 2015. And for those of you who don't know EDO, we are the TV outcomes company. So we take predictive behavioral outcome data sets and we help advertisers understand how their convergent TV advertising drives outcomes.
Pete.
Yeah. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Pete Doe, Chief Research Officer at Nielsen. I started back at Nielsen in January in that role. I run the data science organization for the audience measurement part of Nielsen. And I was at Nielsen prior to that, between 2004 and 15. And then I had a few years working with Clipped and Xandr. So more claps there for Clipped. Very good. So anyway, that's me.
So on to the meat of the discussion. EDO and Nielsen announced a big partnership around blending audience measurement and outcomes measurement with a vision for a unified workflow for planning and optimization. So we have a bunch of buzzwords in there. We have outcomes, we have unified workflow, we have optimization, and you also highlighted a number of media companies as partners, right? I think I need this. But in a world where there are tons of partnerships and announcements and companies partnering and talking about outcomes and various buzzwords, why should this audience of sort of seasoned media wonks care?
Yeah, so let me set the stage by just giving a quick overview of the partnership. So if you go forward one slide, so the partnership is all about bringing together Nielsen's audience measurement with EDO's outcome measurement. And the way that's going to manifest itself on the next slide is it's going to come through in a couple of different use cases. We first wanted to give that combination of audience and outcomes a word. And so the word that we're using for it right now is engaged reach. So use that nomenclature for this discussion. And so in terms of the use cases we're looking to unlock with this partnership, there's first going to be engaged reach reporting. So that's after the campaign has run, help me understand the impact of that campaign on engaged reach. But there's also going to be engaged reach planning use cases. And that's going to come in a couple of forms that we can get into in more detail.
Okay. Pete, given your years of experience both at Nielsen and other sort of platforms like Xandr, what is most noteworthy about this partnership?
I'm really excited about this partnership. I just wish it had happened a few years ago when I was at Clipped, because we were then working with EDO data and with clients on the sell side doing data-driven linear. And we were using EDO data and we were integrating it with inventory and sales estimates to provide optimized schedules aimed at the outcomes that EDO reports on. But what we couldn't do was go all the way to the end and integrate the EDO outcomes data with the Nielsen audience data. And so it stopped, and it was not a fully seamless thing to do. So one of the things I was excited about coming back to Nielsen was to talk to my CEO and others in the company about how we really need to do these partnerships at Nielsen, and we should have the currency data as much as we can opened up to integrate with these sorts of things. So I think this is a really important development for Nielsen in terms of opening up to outcomes data and other forms of data. And yeah, delighted to see it.
So you orchestrated this entire deal?
It was nothing to do with me, well, maybe a little bit.
So Josh, can you explain a little bit more about how EDO calculates this engaged reach? And in particular, how do you think that media buyers are going to want to incorporate engaged reach into their media plans, or do you see that happening?
Yep. So I put together an example that we can go through. So two of our initial engaged reach metrics are going to be engaged GRPs and engaged impressions. So on the next slide is the basic formula for how you compute. I'll just use engaged GRPs as the example. And it's really just taking GRPs as you currently know it and multiplying it by the EDO engagement rate. We also just divide by 100 because that's the way, if you know EDO reporting, we're often indexing our engagement rate. So that 100 represents the average or the benchmark that we're looking against. And so in this example, you can see that an eGRP of 150 means that you reached 150 rating points at the average level of engagement. And you can see on the chart on the right-hand side, you can achieve an eGRP of 150 in a variety of scenarios. And so we just put together this simple example showing kind of average GRPs and higher or lower engagement rates to reach the same total eGRPs.
So who defines sort of that engagement, or is there an agreed upon sort of level of this is what EDO engagement means?
Yeah, it will be, if you go to the next slide, that's going to be aligned to whatever view of data that we're looking at. And so a really important part of the partnership is to be able to provide that engagement rate regardless of the row of data that you're looking at. I think what we've seen in the past is mutual clients trying to do this in a spreadsheet where it's extremely tedious, it's very custom, you have to spend a lot of time trying to align the two data sets. And so in this example, what we would do is we would take, this is screenshots of a example media plan. And so you can take the media plan, you take that row of the media plan, and in this case, let's say the top row represents broadcast primetime. So then the way we would, for a particular brand, the way we would then go to EDO's data set, get the engagement rate for broadcast primetime for that brand, and be able to do that eGRP calculation that we just saw on the previous slide. And then we'd be able to do that for the entire media plan, for every single row in the media plan. And then what you can do at the end is, just like GRPs, you can get a total eGRP number for your entire campaign. And so this is going to be what we call the engage reach scenario-based planning. And so you'll have this metric available to you for any of your plans that you are already creating with Nielsen. And then you'll be able to compare multiple plans against each other to understand which ones are driving more or less engaged impressions or engaged GRPs.
So this is happening in Nielsen's dashboard, or is this happening in EDO's dashboard?
So in the initial phases of the partnership, we're doing an alpha with clients. In that alpha, we're going to be working directly with our clients, both on the advertising side as well as the publisher side. And we want to first discover and understand their workflow before we fully codify it in software. But yes, the vision and the eventual end goal will be for this to exist in the same tools that clients are using to perform their planning today.
Oh, but at least for the sort of the alpha, it's almost like in a little sandbox, if you will.
Yeah, you can
Cool.
conceptualize that way.
Pete, what does this mean for Nielsen's clients? Are there different benefits for the buy side or the sell side in terms of this engaged reach?
I would think so. But I think overall what we're enabling here is a better understanding of consumers and viewers. And anything that enables that leads to better business and I hope as well better viewing experience for viewers as well, and that they're going to get ads which are more relevant. I do think that whenever you have this additional information and it's integrated with currency information, it does enable conversations that couldn't happen otherwise. And so that does lead to a better understanding of the value of media for both buy and sell side. And then the ability to bring it in to create optimized deals and to create plans that are more efficient than they would have been without this data has to be a good thing, both for buy side and sell side.
Seems like we continue to kind of drive towards efficiency, which kind of raises the question of, well, are media plans not efficient now?
Well, we're human, aren't we? Things can always be better and improved. And so, as I say, but the more you understand how consumers and viewers are behaving, and the more inputs you get, then the better job you can do.
I'm glad that you brought in the word currency, because in a world, and we also talked about outcomes, but in a world that is increasingly focused on outcomes, and a world where advertisers are wanting their media to drive very specific results, someone might ask, why do we still need basic audience measurement? You talked about audience and outcomes. Like, what is the advantage of having both of those in one place?
I think we certainly need them to be separate, so that people can understand, how many people saw the ad, and then the outcome associated with it. I've heard people in the past talk about reach and impressions and ratings as vanity metrics. That's certainly something that I completely disagree with. I do the argument there being that I just care about what my advertising did for me in terms of outcomes and so on, which is fine until it doesn't work. And then the first question you have is, how many people even saw my ad? And if you can't answer that with the so-called vanity metrics, then you're going to be wondering what on earth happened. So I think there's always going to be a need for the basics of understanding of how many people saw the ad. And the other thing related to that is, if I'm on the sales side, I don't want to guarantee outcomes. I don't have enough control over that. I don't know what the creative of the ad is going to be. I don't know what other influences in the market they're going to be. And so for me to, as a sell side person, to say, I can guarantee that you will get an improvement in engagement or a lift in sales, very risky business to be in, I think, for guarantees. But what you can guarantee reasonably well is how many eyeballs you're going to deliver.
Yeah. As Pete was saying, the combination is critical. I can give a couple of examples of where you really see that play out. It also speaks to what you just asked me in terms of our media plans, how effective are they today? So I think one example is really understanding, and you can see this in our data, understanding the data by audience segment, or the different groups of people that either you're reaching through your campaign today or that you're explicitly targeting, and understanding for every advertiser really which, when I target those folks on TV, do they respond to my ads? Are they searching for my brand? Are they going to my brand's website? And that's a critical component that you can't do without the extremely granular audience measurement that's needed. And then another good example of that is to understand frequency. I think we all know it is very difficult to be able to track households and individuals across devices. But when you do that well, and you're able to combine that with engagement metrics, you're able to really understand, for myself as an advertiser, what is the right ways in which I should be optimizing frequency across my campaign.
So you're saying this partnership is finally going to solve the frequency capping problem?
From a measurement point of view, I think we do have great data to understand that.
To be able to more granularly understand your audience. I mean, interoperability is another word that has come to the forefront in measurement. But like outcomes, I think it means different things depending on who you ask. This deal seems to be about interoperability, but there's kind of two flavors. There's the interoperability of, hey, let's pull data from your platform and put it in my platform and make sure that they can talk. That's technical. But then there's also the, hey, let's make sure our contracts say that we can do what we want to do with this data, and that the buy side can see what they need to see, and that the sell side can see what they need to see. What kind of interoperability is this partnership?
Both is a simple answer. And I was mentioning before that I'm so glad this is happening now, and I wish it had happened a few years ago, because we could have been doing this as a platform when I was at Xandr, but we weren't allowed to do it. We actually had all the ingredients that we needed to do. Well, most of it, maybe not all of it, but we could have done more, but contractually we weren't allowed to do it because of our Nielsen contracts. So that's opening that up, I think, is one of the key things. But then also putting, from a practical purpose, putting the data together in a way that is within EDO's platform, and then next year bring it into some of the Nielsen planning systems, is the plan, and I think that is good as well, because it means that it's not just letting the data out there so everybody has to do it themselves. It just makes it easier and more consistent that we're working together to do that as an offering to the industry.
Josh, were there other, then I'm going off script, were there other partners that you had planned to sort of work on this with? Or were you like, hey, look, Nielsen is the 10,000 pound gorilla. This needs to work with Nielsen for this to be impactful?
Yeah, I think for us at EDO, it's all about increasing the usage of our engagement metrics and making that available to both our buy side and sell side clients to where they're using the data. And so we do ultimately want to really partner with our clients and minimize the number of tools they have to use. I think with that, Nielsen's not the only tool that's being used for this, but they are definitely one of the main tools that are being used. And so, yeah, we're very excited to be able to partner with Nielsen on this.
Can you tell us a little bit about the roadmap for this? I mean, do you foresee this impacting? Do you foresee media buyers thinking about EGRP, engaged reach and EGRPs in like the next upfront? Or is this a longer term deal?
Yeah. So as I hinted at earlier, we are entering an alpha phase with mutual clients currently. And so during that alpha, clients will be able to use the engage reach scenarios as well as the engage reach optimizer under that engage reach planning use case. And the way that we've tried to time it out is that those alphas and pilots can coincide with kind of this year's upfront process. And I think doing that will put us in a really good position for it being kind of outside of that pilot stage and in general use for the next upfront.
Pete, knowing that this is something that you wanted years ago, right? And now that it's here, if you look in your crystal ball, what do you see sort of this time next year for this partnership?
I'd like to think that people are using this data to make better campaigns, both from a buy side and sell side, and that the partnership will continue to develop as well to a sort of deeper integration of data assets as well. That obviously is a longer term task compared with what we're doing now, which is a more sort of aggregated but nonetheless useful view of the world. So I think it's just building up, learning from our clients as well, like what's working for them and what isn't. Probably as well, I would say working with companies like DFX. I think I heard Howard's voice earlier, so that they can enable some of these integrations into optimizations for their clients. And so I think all of those things, and we'll see how it evolves.
Now, this something I probably should have asked in the beginning. Is this for linear? Is this for streaming? Is this for all of the above? Because will it then impact the new fronts as well?
It's all of the above. So yeah, the coverage of the data set is both linear and streaming. So yes, then because of that, it will also apply to the new fronts.
Yeah, I mean, I think linear is the easy place to start with our assets, but it doesn't preclude streaming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.